Good evening, everybody, and welcome to discussion on Babylon 5 here on Fandom Legacy. I'm your host, Baron Armentag. Joining me tonight is Mike from Pacific 414, the Pop Talk Master himself.
Yes, I am here. I am here because I have to keep an eye on the Don.
Mm-hmm. Everyone does. And speaking of that Narn, we have Akash and Monet of the Phantom Hooligans. He has joined us with that magnificent chin of his.
I have to understand that the Centauri is going to honor their agreement.
And then, of course,
Of course we will. Just make sure you keep that chin out of my way.
Yeah, we don't need chin issues here. We don't need. And of course, beneath me here, one Philip McCracken of Release McCracken. He has joined us as well.
Well, I just want to say that it's ironic that the character image that Cash Money also has a big chin. Here we go. See, there we go. There's for everybody to see. Look, not only in real life, but his alter ego has an ultimate chin.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is our Phil McCracken. And while we're here, of course, I just want to say hello to one of our favorite penguins out there, Low Spec Linux Laptop. And it's good to know that you are enjoying the series, I should say, up to episode 11 of season 4, Krit. And some guy by the name Phil McCracken comes in here and approves of the new intro music. What do you mean the new intro music? That's the same intro music as we always had. Oh, well. Well, gentlemen, glad that you all were able to make it. And seeing that we are all part of this here, let us, I was doing, wasn't on the ball, gents. So there we go. And there we got the picture. We're going to take a look at the first episode of that we're going to be looking at today. And that is Rumors, Bargains, and Lies. And we have little issues with, of course, they want to make sure that the League of Non-Aligned Worlds are protected, and trying to make sure that they accept their proposal of having the White Star Fleet. And Delenn and an old rival of hers, and that happens to be Naroon, are trying to stop something that was almost unheard of, a civil war on Minbar. Remember, Minbari do not kill Minbari. So with that, of course, with the civil war breaking out in the capital city, it's causing, let's face it, that's just a thing that's unheard of, as I said before. And of course, we also learned that 3/4 of President Clark's cabinet resigned in protest of his martial law decree. I wonder what all happened to some of them. Probably not the best of things. And the big thing is Naroon, is he trying to betray Delenn? Is this a trick to get her out of the way now that the warrior caste have the upper hand, or is there something more to this? And as we also learned that the Minbari, the religious caste, has been kind of the butt of the joke because of them basically calling the end of the Earth Minbari War just on the cusp of victory. So going into it, any thoughts so far of this episode that we have? Basically it's kind of simple to the point.
It's nice simple to the point. Yeah, you have this first scene here where everybody's coming into the mess hall and they're getting ready to eat breakfast, and as everybody who's included in the scene is talking, Sheridan right there, he starts laughing as they're saying certain things, and they're questioning what worlds are actually going to still help out Babylon 5 and help out the rest of the galaxy in general, especially with lingering effects of the shadows.
Right. And of course, he starts breaking out of laughter. It's like, okay, what's wrong with you, Sheridan?
And that's pretty much what Ivanova says. Everything okay over there?
Mm-hmm. Nothing at all. It's like, you care to let us in on your little joke there, Captain?
Mm-hmm.
And of
I'd
course,
just like to know where they got all the stuff that they're eating. Orange juice and space and
Warner Brothers Catering.
That's right.
Simple.
You have to remember they broke away from Earth, so I'm sure the supplies are not the same coming from another planet.
No, that's
true.
true.
They do have pancakes.
Well, let's put it this way: orange juice. Remember, Tang. Tang is the drink of astronauts. I'm sure they got crates upon crates.
I'm getting bad flashbacks for Tang now.
And then, of course, the of course, and also in this episode, we've got the Minbaris who, are disagreeing about stuff, and of course, we still got Minbari's Baron who, disagree about Delenn, because of what she did before, and they don't always want to listen to her because they're a bunch of they're torn about Delenn.
Look at it. Look at it this way: it's the warrior caste versus the religious caste.
Right.
The warrior
and the warrior caste, if I were
superior,
right. Yes, always. We're the warriors, and we're, nobody else can be better than us, and yeah, it's a very interesting thing. But these are things that would definitely happen in groups.
And of course, as we see here, they're kind of watching the information, what's going on. And of course, so the worker class is kind of caught between this whole thing of what's going on. It's like, hey, wait a moment, we just put stuff together. What's going on? And needless to say, for Delenn being far away and seeing all this happening is a struggle, especially with her history involved with the Earth Minbari War. And for once, it's Lanier that comes to her with wise sage words, when it's usually the other way around. The master learns from the student.
Yep.
Which, of course, Bill Mumy doing an excellent job, as always, as Lanier.
I think that shows growth in Lanier, that he can give advice to Delenn at this point.
Yeah, right. Just like Veer. I mean, Veer and Londo. I mean, when we first saw Veer to what he became throughout the series, gigantic growth, huge growth of the character.
Yep. Well, Lanier, he's always torn. As much as he likes Sheridan, obviously he would like to be the man to be with Delenn. I mean, I guess a lot of us would be, but that's beside the point.
As much as I like Delenn, I still would go with Ivanova.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Not Lita though, because reading your mind, the last thing you need to have is
Yikes! Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know about that, man.
And there's Mike just before every episode of Pop Talk. Do I really have to go through it with these guys?
Not again.
And of course, Sheridan is.
I have to deal with that Vorlon and with yet the Nan.
Well, the Vorlons are gone. That's why you have an Earth Force officer now. The Vorlons have gone beyond the rim. And of course, guess who comes and visits? Yes. A little bit of a showdown between Naroon and the warrior caste, and of course the religious caste.
Always conflicts there, yeah.
Coming to the head with everything that's happened, and of course, who's leading the forefront? It's like, instead of hiding in back like Naroon, he's right up in front. And you have to say, John Vickery, who plays Naroon, he did such a great job in playing Naroon.
He did.
I like his character.
You could almost see him as an Imperial officer in Star Wars, honestly.
Okay, yeah, you see that.
Yeah. And diffusing the situation between the two sides. And I don't know if I want to mess around with these guys, either one of them, because we kind of get an idea that the religious caste, even though they're religious, they do have their form of martial arts. Lanier kicking ass like he has and taking, I don't know, what you would call it, Membar Fu or whatever you want to call it. The Martial arts. That's the word I'm looking for. Yes, your host, as always, has a problem. And look how defiant good old Lanier is. I mean,
of course, he's trying to always see the rational side of things, which is one of the reasons I like his character so much.
But we also find out that the duplicity is not just with the warrior cast. We start finding out that this supposedly picked on is just as duplicitous as the others. And, as is with this gentleman right there. He's not happy. He wants to make a point. And, of course, Neroon, Delenn, making a bargain with each other. But is he worth trusting? And,
no.
Especially the times that they butted heads literally before. Yeah, and the big thing,
trust him as far as I could throw.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Neroon is just so much more about. Delenn isn't about power, but Neroon is definitely about power. He wants to control things the way things need to be, or he feels that the history of Minbari needs to be a certain way, and so he's.
Yeah, and Delenn is about power, but it's the power over her, basically the inner self. While Neroon is for the outer self. Those around him, while she's trying to seek power over her. To remain the peace and the traditions and the ways of the Minbari people.
And the thing about Delenn is she's able to stand up to him very well.
Always.
She's not intimidated by him at all.
No.
Yeah, she's come a long way in 10 plus years. And of course, the other factor, the fact that she is half human now, doesn't really help her with the Minbari, because
they don't like
imagine they consider her tainted. And a lot of people don't know about the human souls in the Minbari, which are basically the children of Sinclair, and basically the descendants of those that happen to have that DNA print inside of them. But for them, it's still a religious factor. But both, as our conversation knows, this is one of the dangerous things that we could possibly have, and we got to find a way around this. And he's trying to get her to come back to Minbar. And so is he to be trusted? Is there anything to be trusted with this guy? Would you trust Minbari with age spots on his head like that? I don't know.
That's
I trust him as much as I trust a Cardassian.
I never noticed that, and now that you pointed that out, I am now, if I'm rewatching it, going to be looking for his age spots on his.
Well, yeah, Mr. Phil McCracken, who sits back and says he takes in all these details, and boom, there you go. I schooled them.
Well, that ruined this, because I used to think they had perfection going, but now their makeup department has failed the poor actor.
No, I mean, it's part of the character. He's an older character and all that. I mean, it's great seeing what we would consider flaws or whatever. Because they, it's the individualities, like, everyone's got something.
Perfection, no age spots in space.
Oh, come on, Phil.
Come on.
You're gonna say that to Kirk?
That's a little too much to ask for, Phil.
Yeah, when you get old, and the spots start showing up.
I'm forever young.
Yeah. So. And of course, here's our first-hand scene of seeing the chaos, you might say, on Minbar. Such a beautiful city before, now with the smokes and the plumes. And I have to admit, though, that sunset or sunrise, I don't know if it's rising or setting, but still beautiful sky. But with all that's going on, and they know that they have to do something, or they're going to go a ways that they don't want to. The last, they consider. Minbari are haughty. They kind of think they're better than the rest. Them going around saying Minbari, not killing Minbari, that's kind of a boast and a brag, and so much. But it's kind of like the Vulcans, especially in Enterprise. We're so much better than you.
And the arrogance.
Yeah, arrogant, very arrogant.
Always.
And yet, you don't have that with Dylan. That's great. And of course, how we have Eldrazi, and they're having the communications as they're trying to get them. You might say, kind of trick them into accept an offer of their ability to protect them.
Well, what we find out in that scene where the crew is all together having breakfast is that Sheridan wants a fleet of White Stars to go close to certain areas of space, and the other species that are on board Babylon 5 are going, well, why is there a fleet of White Stars? What's Sheridan up to? They want to know.
Understandable, especially after what they experienced with the Shadow Wars. It's like, is this his attempt now to take over and fill that void and become the new master of the universe? He's come in like this glorious messianic figure. It's like, okay, when is the other shoe going to drop now? Is he to be trusted?
Yeah, it's why Marcus was assigned to take some White Stars to the edge of certain territories and, pique certain interest.
Yeah, the Rangers, I always feel, are doing some dangerous mission that must be accomplished, I should say. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. And needless to say, we have some of our people like Londo Malari being used as a pawn by Sheridan for once. It's great to see that he's being played. And the Drazi is like, oh, what's going on? What's this? Like, I don't know. It's like, right. And you can understand the Drazi, especially with some of the news that we're getting today with China, with Taiwan and the Philippines, and argument over space. And are you coming into our space or not? Yeah, I mean, they want to be protected. They want to make sure they're not going to be invaded. And it's like, as our savior is now going to be our overlords. The Centauri kind of did the same thing, was they were having their great republic. But he comes back, and we have ourselves a little meeting out there, and it's like, what do you say? Blah, blah, blah. And now everyone's getting concerned, getting scared. It's like, maybe we do need to have. This is great. This is backroom politics that they're doing. Playing off of fears. Now, is it a good thing? That can be argued. What do you think? Do you think he's actually doing a good thing doing this, or is it kind of taking a step beyond what they should be doing?
Well, why wouldn't the other worlds question what's going on, and they're not being told what's going on?
Just because the shadows are defeated and the Vorlons are gone. Excuse me. That there's not going to be still conflicts between other races and in the council. Of course there would be.
Right. Well, yeah, and most definitely, and yeah, I mean, I would be concerned. Oh, of course. Hi, Franklin. How you doing? And he's part of the plan too, and he helps fuel that fire a little bit more. Now we start finding out that our religious caste, the fine, upstanding group of people, are plotting an assassination. They're going to make sure that ship does not reach Minbar.
Oh, God, I've seen more H spots on people. What you did to me, Baron?
Well, she doesn't have any because she's young, but, this guy is old like us, Phil.
I don't know. He looks like he's making up for her with all the ones he has on it. Makeup artist, please. Makeup artist.
Well, again, that's something to give points to.
Yeah, exactly.
The makeup artists, that they have those little details.
Right.
Oh my God. I never noticed this till now. All the time watching Babylon 5. I just realized their ears are on their necks.
You didn't realize that?
I just now noticed that.
That's why Bill Mooney said it was so hard to hear with those things on, because they'd cover that makeup would cover up the ears and it kind of deafened you. And then, of course, you had the little fake ears down there.
Wow. I just noticed that.
Of course, we have a little conferring, and it's like, hey, what can we do with the, to help this little planet was along there, Ivanova?
Let's do a newscast.
Well, remember, Ivanova even questions, you don't want us to lie because that's the whole point of us doing this Voice of the Resistance. Yet you want me to spin this news.
Yeah. What's spin and what's a lie? And you can understand, integrity. You want to have integrity, but if you're doing that, doing this is like, do we lose integrity doing so? And of course, they're all conferring. They're all upset because they don't have White Stars or the protection. So it's like, yeah, the plan is working. The plan is working.
I mean, I want a White Star too, but that's beside the point.
There is Neroon. He's inside looking at the stars, talking with his aide, and it sounds like there might be some duplicity going on here, folks. Is he? It sounds like
shock.
Neroon is gonna. So it's everybody. Everybody's in this plan. Everybody's on the plan of betraying each other. And I just want to sit back and say, nerd, welcome, DJ Ronnie G.
It's Turtles.
Yes.
Turtles.
Turtle power, man.
My snapper soup connector. Take care of them turtles, because I'm waiting for my snapper soup.
Sorry to hear about the passing of your friend's mother, brother.
Oh, really?
I
didn't hear that. My
I didn't hear about that
man.
either. Yeah, man, that sucks.
My condolences. Bro. Yeah. And of course, along the way, our esteemed Neroon gets into a little bit of scuff, as you can see. Little conversation between everybody concerned, and of course, the fanaticism of the religious caste, because they're more than willing to die on board the ship. And of course, Lanier finding out about the little problem, so he's going in to get the gas so it doesn't kill everybody as best as possible, wearing a mask, but not as well. And there they all are. It's like, oh my word, what's going on here? And he gets rid of the gas, and basically he chides that religious caste. It's like, I trust her. Where was yours? A little conversation between Neroon and our esteemed lovely Delenn. Looks like his wound is healing well. So what are we going to do to stop this war? And we have an angry League of Unaligned Worlds. And it's like, we want protection too. Yeah, we want protection. And poor John Sheridan, he's just being inundated. It's like, oh my, okay, whatever you say, I'll be more than happy. I guess I'll send some people your way to help patrol your lanes. More than happy to help you. And
yeah, they're basically saying to Sheridan, you might explain what's going on here.
Like he didn't know. Oh, DJ's having no tacos or chili while watching the show. Then you won't mix up the gas episodes. I know, I went there. Of course, he's like making sure Dylan knows he's fine. Religious cast watching over him. They go, and basically it's like, yeah, you guys are schmucks. I did a lot of this for her, not him. And there's Ivanova doing her news broadcast. Dylan, and there's Neroon, and he's letting us know the plans are in motion. Time to betray. Hi, how you doing, Neroon? Thoughts? Any other thoughts on this episode? With the basically everyone's being duplicitous in this episode. Kind of a theme. It seems like the religious cast, the warrior cast, Sheridan, League of Unaligned Worlds. Various other people on board Babylon 5. Poor Orlando being used as a puppet in all this.
I think it's a good episode because it does lead to a few things that happens in the following episodes.
A little bit of a setup, you might say.
Yeah. It's not a filler episode, that's for sure.
No, I would not call it that.
Episode,
no.
Yeah.
So,
And
okay.
we see that Sheridan's willing to do a few things to ruffle a few feathers, so to speak.
Yeah, he's.
Oh yeah, not that he hasn't done it already.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, he's gonna play mind games with them because they're gonna try to push their way into getting what they want, and he's gonna try to appeal to them in a certain way, but he's also playing with their minds. He's like, oh, maybe Sheridan's right. It's like,
Okay, and hearing none other, let's move on to our next episode, Moments of Transition. Yeah, I know. It's been the joke through the whole show. You're late on it. This one, of course, like I said, Moments of Transition. Basically, the warrior cast demand Delin surrender. We have Bester showing up again, everyone's favorite guy cop. And he's going to be talking to Lita, who's in the, who doesn't, a bit of a state. And Sheridan receives some word from Ivanova, and he figures he needs to do something. Now, what's great about this episode is we do have a guest appearance by a cartoonist of all people, and that's Scott Adams, who is a big Babylon 5 fan. He of course, does Dilbert comic strip. And he had his little thing there, and basically they're putting a little tongue-in-cheek about a dog and a cat trying to take over the world or the galaxy. So with that, of course, we're seeing a little bit of what Garibaldi's going through. Sheridan's going through receiving the word, and I believe the word is that his father went missing. MISSING. And it doesn't surprise you that would happen because, of course, what better way to get to him than through his family? Correct, gentlemen?
Yeah, they found out where his father was going, and they apprehended him.
And of course, we're also dealing with the horrible situation here with Minbari. I mean, as you can see, some of the beautiful crystalline structures falling down, fires, the roadways, it's just not the best. And of course, here we have survivors of some of the battle, wounded. And you take a look at these perspective shots that they have on here, just with the limited space they have and make it look so huge. I mean, I think this is kind of an impressive shot. So
it's the kind of shot that you didn't see that often on Star Trek.
Not at all. Or a lot of others. And you're right, they do look great in the mirror, Astro. They do. And of course, Dylan being told that, basically they want to surrender. And there's Lita. She's trying to get a job. And the problem is she's not legal to do a job. They need to have a licensed Psy-Corps. And she's getting her job, she's got the best qualifications except for one thing. She's not part of the union. No matter how hard she tries. And it's like, they're trying to let her down as nice as possible. But
and then of course
you don't have a license, you can't work.
Of course, Bester has to come in there and start filling her head with stuff. It's like, oh, you need us, don't you? Where are you going to get money? Where are you going to? He's such an ass.
Yeah. But the thing is too, so is Sheridan and the rest. They're a bit of an ass, especially with everything that she did for them, all the sacrifices she made, and they're tossing her off to the side. You can almost sit back and say it's the way a lot of veterans get treated by the government, and you expect better from Sheridan.
Yeah, I don't think it's all his fault, but yeah.
No, but still.
Yeah. It's a messy situation, that's for sure. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's not a pleasant.
But yeah, they've done bad. Well, they threw her out of her place, and it's just, it's just
They didn't
she
throw
was
her out.
told-
They just
Yeah.
downgraded her apartment.
Well, downgraded her, I guess.
Well,
but kind of
they
the word
they
did.
still told her to
yeah,
relocate because she
exactly.
wasn't making any income,
Right.
and she had just gotten the place that she
Mhm.
was in all set up, and then she's being told to move into a smaller place.
Let's just use it like an example. If you're a police chief and you get demoted back to captain, you don't get the big office anymore.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. If a general gets demoted to colonel, no, that's too bad. You don't just lose rank, you lose privilege.
Mm-hmm.
No, but it was pretty crappy how they did kick her off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. it
And
is.
here we're kind of.
Okay,
And here we're kinda-
we got the work that we wanted you to do done. So now we're just gonna kick you to the curb because we don't need you anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like a lot of veterans are treated. And it's been a problem through not just the United States, but everybody. I mean, the war is over. It's like, well, thank you for your service. Go away now.
Yeah.
It's just not a nice thing at all. And we're looking here, of course, as one of the people behind the this plot. And the character's name is I just lost his name. Shikari, played by Bart McCarthy, who looks a little bit now these days like W. Morgan Shepard, who was in so many Star Treks and various other shows. So he's kind of the instigator of a lot of these issues here. Of course, talking to the linear, the Rune about the plan coming forward, and they're planning to take everything over. He thinks he's so smart. Look at that, cocky. And look who arrives on Babylon 5.
Are you happy to see me? No, go away.
They're never happy to see him.
No.
And that
because where he goes, trouble follows.
That's right.
Yeah, he thinks he's better than them all. He's a higher evolution of mankind. Basically, I'm looking at you misandrial. You.
Yeah, it's like
that's all of the members of Psychor act. Yep. They think that they're the superior version of the human species.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing back on Babylon 5? What you think I don't have other things to do in my life besides Babylon 5? And of course Zach is thinking, well, you're here again. Like, we have to see you again.
And of course, running into Garibaldi too, and having about Esther and all that, and it's like, hey, what can he do, man? And you can kind of, you can tell these scenes. He's like jumpy. It's like, what's he up to, type of thing. Back on Minbar, of course, we have our lovely Dylan facing some situations, but here comes the conflict. Oh, I love that the lollipops. Look at the lollipops. Even in space, you have lollipops.
Yes.
You think when Riker sat back about the good ship lollipop, it's like, no, that's real out there.
Yes.
And of course, she can sense him coming like a light year away. And it's like, hello. Let's have a nice little talk. It's like, yeah, right. Nice, huh? And he's explained about, pouting up her situation, her problems, and knowing that she can't get jobs. But, there is a way to get a job. Rejoin Psychor.
Come on, Psychor. It's for you.
In that look.
The best. I know. No.
That's the look I got from a lot of ladies when I asked them out for a date. It's like, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, there is the paperwork. It's like, all I have to do is sign. And and you're part of the team again. Of course, here we are. We're getting ready to have the little showdown, you might say, where they demand Lynn step down, and they can take over.
Delin is exactly. So Delin is still a strong presence in Minbari, of course, and so they don't like that. Because the warrior caste can take over everything. That's what they think, anyways. Because
they already got major control. No, they got major control. I mean, why not finish it through there? And Zach was such a great character, and
he was, man.
And he has a thing for her, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, he does. He's got some good taste. She's a little nuts, as we find out later.
But they're not
a
like,
redhead,
unless you're cash money, you don't like redheads.
Boy. I do like redheads, but that's beside the point.
I thought you were going to say that she's a redhead. Of course you're crazy. I'm glad you didn't go that way there, Phil. I don't need any more angry letters.
They're not crazy. They're fiery.
Oh, yeah, and Leah can be. I like that outfit she's wearing, by the way.
Yep.
And you say they're kind of discussing the situation and what's got her into this. And it's like, Zach is trying to do the best he can, but he's just Zach. But he cares about her greatly.
He cares about her a lot. But
I'm surprised she can't hone in on that. I mean, there's a wonderful scene in Third Space.
Yeah, I don't know.
Really.
Well, maybe it's because without his consent, she can't read his mind.
But they even sat back.
I know the body. Stuff. I know the body language should be telling her that he has feelings for her, but story-wise, maybe she's just not really picking up on it.
And I want to say hello to Animas. Yeah, welcome to the show, Animas. I'm glad you took time out from waving your wand Hogwarts to join us. Yeah,
we're glad, man.
But even then, and they made it known too that even though they can't or they don't, they try their best. There's surface things that scream through that can't be ignored, which is in their form, I suppose, for them, body language. But they don't do deep scans or even try to scan. Especially when he touches her. You figure when he touches, that's the one of the things that helps do that connection. And again, that's another look I get when I ask women out in the day. So,
okay.
I mean, these are bringing back flashbacks, man. This is not right.
Yeah, I'm sure your arm was tired, Anonymous.
And here's the scene we're talking about with Scott Adams. Is he's trying to hire on Garibaldi because he fears that there's a dog and a cat trying to take over the galaxy. It's like, oh boy, I'm dealing with Alex Jones material here. And who comes to visit him? It's Lita, and she's wanting a job. And unfortunately, he's got to kind of do the same thing. I can't hire you. But look who's always there lurking.
Yes, that man.
Little showdown, little heated exchange, and there's that cocky smile. He knows he's got
that smile too. Just.
But then there's Zach, who, he has a vested interest. He really likes her, which I'm sure Bester didn't expect. I'm sure he didn't expect that.
Probably not.
And we have one of their holy tribes. It kind of looks like the Grand Canyon territory out there. So what, they got Arizona on Minbar?
Maybe so.
Do they have Vasquez Rock too?
Never know.
Yeah, like DJ Ronnie G said, Jabba's Palace.
Now we have the showdown. All of them in Bari watching
Right,
between the two.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge. Who can stay in the longest?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
basically 2 Minbari enter, 1 Minbari leave.
basically, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The cocky. And there it is. Boom. The Annihilator. And she steps in. And yep, my plan's coming. I get rid of her. All is good.
Right. Yep.
Little gloating.
Mm-hmm.
Neroon finally letting the mask down, confronting his boss. Delenn, of course, suffering. And look who takes over. Pushing her out of the way, Neroon, as the final blast start coming
He
in.
realizes what's going on.
Mm-hmm. He's willing to die for all that. So is he willing to die for Minbar as a warrior caste?
Right.
And there he is, the ultimate sacrifice himself. Willing to accept that fate. And boom. Not much left of
that
him.
arrogance again.
Mm-hmm. All in stunned silence. And yeah. Basically, his plan went to shite. And of course, there's Garibaldi with Edgar's, and look who happens to sign the form, Lita.
Yep.
Not happy about this, but even Garibaldi can't help her.
No.
So back to the core. Everyone that she was expecting, gone, or turning their back as she feels.
Mm-hmm.
And there is Delenn coming in,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and she's restructuring the council.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's going to be the majority is going to be the worker caste this time, since they're the ones that build and keep Minbar alive, and the warrior and the religious caste, of course, shrink.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the news about his dad, he's sharing that with
Ivanova
and all that, and what he's going to have to do. And she's not
going to have to go.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So now we have the new council holding 5. The worker caste holding the 5, 9 positions, of course, for of the 9 positions. The position the leader is reserved for the one who is yet to come. Bester, of course, directly involved with whatever is done to Garibaldi. We kind of get the idea. There's something between him and Garibaldi. So what's going to happen there? And we find out, of course, we kind of know that William Edgars, Garibaldi's new employer, is a very secretive man, but he's also one of the wealthiest men in the Earth Alliance. And no picture of him has ever been published, oddly enough. And he has an intense distrust of the telepaths, which, I can't blame him on that one. But the one question, I got the big question.
Of course.
What happened between Zach and Bester? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what happened between Zach and Bester after Bester provoked Garibaldi? What do you think happened between those two? I mean, you can just imagine, but God, I would look to
a few words were exchanged.
I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. And who do you think is the one yet to come? Well, as one person put it down there, Zathras, no, not Zathras, but Zathras, referred to Sheridan as the one who will be. No one ever this is Zathras.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And so what could be, could it be him or who could it be? We don't know. So any thoughts, anything on this episode?
It's another solid episode.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, good evening, Leah Rose, the president and sole member of the
Hello,
McCracken
Leah
Fan
Rose.
Club. Good to see you.
The Ultimate Club.
The Ultimate Club, yeah.
Hello, Leah.
We get bear claws, Baron. Bear claws.
Mm. Good. Have you noticed one thing also in this episode? Zach no longer calls Garibaldi chief.
That's because he's accepted his role as the new chief of security.
Mm-hmm. And that Garibaldi's not coming back.
Exactly.
Which is sad. Any other thoughts on this episode? Going once, going twice. Hearing none. We are going to surrender, no retreat. They're taking the fight to the enemy in this episode, folks. Sheridan leads a force to liberate Proxima 3. And Londo tries to enlist Jakar in backing Sheridan against Earth. So that's going to be kind of an interesting thing, those two working together. We have Sheridan facing people that he knew and worked with and are friends with, but they're on the wrong side, like Captain McDougan, played by Richard Gant. So things are coming to a head. Who's going to be switching sides? Who's not? This episode also had a great soundtrack, by the way, that was available on CD. I don't know if they still are or not. So with that, of course, we have seen scenes of what he's going through. He's having to kill friends, colleagues in this war. And now we have a little, discussion between Londo and Vera about this. And here we go. Probably the first time those two come together in such a fashion. Jakar, Londo, trying to work together on giving support to Sheridan. And they seem to start working together. They're receiving news, of course, of what's happening on Proxima 3, the injustices done by the Clark administration. You say none of them are happy. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And they have to come to the conclusion. They're going to have to fight. And, of course, Vera having a cup too many, waking up. And lo and behold, Mr. Garibaldi. Those, it hurts seeing scenes where they're both gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I always love it when you have shots.
One of the tragedies of Babylon 5 is you look at their main cast and there's not many of them left.
No, not at all. About half is gone, basically. And that's not including like Michael O'Hara and some of the others that were beforehand that were in that original pilot movie. I always liked the scenes where you could look in from outside.
Mm-hmm.
Even though
I wish Star Trek did more scenes like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Me too. But notice that his chin seems to be dipping out that section. There, I did that for Phil. And now we're sending out our forces to help support. I would hate to be in their position.
Yeah, well, Earth putting pressure on, killing refugees. So
they're putting everything in Sheridan's hands.
Yes.
The ball's in Sheridan's court.
But Londo knows Sheridan needs support, but he also figures the Narn need to help out. And I think this is the first time that he was ever in Jakar's quarters.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he even
probably,
remarks how dry the
Mm-hmm.
quarters are, just like the non-homeworld.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my, what a concentration here. I mean, and it's a humbling, Londo is being humble here.
He's being humble, and Jakar, because of what happened to him, has the scars, and he still doesn't trust Londo.
No,
yeah, well, he's got the physical and the physical, emotional, everything.
Yes.
Even though Londo tried his best in the background to make sure he was good,
right?
Mm-hmm.
As best as he could do. No, what a powerful scene. Anytime you have, especially something like this between those two.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to know what's also good about this particular scene?
Mm-hmm.
Londo does most of the talking.
Mm-hmm.
Jakar sits there, and you can tell he's listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's through all his acting is with his eyes and his face through all that makeup and body movement.
Mm-hmm.
Very important.
His body language.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And oops, I hate when that happens. You fricker. Of course, he wants to share a drink with Jakar on it, and nah, not yet. Now's not the time. He's not ready yet.
I don't really feel we're
not
still
today,
friends.
Londo. Not today.
I don't feel we're to that point of friendship.
Mm-hmm. Or even detente.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The pilots being informed that, this is going to be no horrible thing. You're flying against your own. And look,
there's the
doctor
from Scrubs and other stuff, of course, too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I believe that Ken Jenkins, I believe, is his name, if I remember right. I could be wrong.
Okay. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you look at it, hindsight now, it's like, wow, he was in there now too. And he's a great actor. He's a really great actor. Just watching the silliness he did with Scrubs and all that. Yeah.
Brought so much to the attention, yes.
And he is not likable at all. Mm-hmm. This guy is a diehard fanatic for Clark in Earth Force. And it's going to come to a head. He's wanting to take out Sheridan. Of course, there's the first officer, and she's not happy about his decision. It's like he's a fanatic. He's like Captain Ahab going after the whale.
Good way to put it.
What expressionable eyes she has.
Yes.
And, little conversation.
Well, you know what I was going to say about Ken Jenkins? You just didn't know that when you saw him in Next Generation, that you'd see him on Babylon 5, but later he received quite a bit of notoriety for being on Scrubs.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the character on Next Generation and this character are two different things. If I remember right, he was talking about baseball. If I remember right, in Next Generation, was that the character?
He was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And how baseball people didn't want to have that because it's too slow and all that. And just the dichotomy that he had from that role to this role to Scrubs, it's just that's versatility. and of course we have the cat. Basically Sheridan's trying to talk them all down. He's like, come on, you don't want to do this, and this is his friend. This is Captain McDougal, who is friends with Sheridan. He's a good man too, and and Sheridan is applying to that. It's like, listen, your oath is to Earth Force, not to the president on illegal laws. And he's going through the conflict. Do I hold to my, what do I do? Do I stay or do I go? But he ultimately, what is it? Are you going to shoot down these unarmed ships or not? And then, of course, what happens? We start having a little war going back. He switches sides, and it doesn't matter. He's going to go down with a ship.
Right.
McDougal is holding back, not doing anything. There's, I believe, 4 destroyers that are, and Sheridan is begging them not to, and unfortunately, one of them goes down because they wouldn't stand down. One unhappy captain there. The first officer trying to, knock some sense. We see the White Stars, the Earth Force destroyers, the Hyperion class cruisers, and others all lining up, drawing lines.
And even the first officer was on Star Trek too.
Yeah,
I think she was.
Yes, she was, exactly. Marcia Mitzman Gavin is her name, and I'm trying to remember what role she had. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna look, and what great eyes she has, by the way, too. I mean, she's got expressionable eyes, which a lot of actors use. She's been in a lot of stuff also. Frasier, Babylon 5, obviously, Drew Carey show. Trying to see what we had with Star Trek. Well, they don't have it listed on here. Wow. I don't believe it. She was in the Get Smart TV series. The new one, that is, not the original. George Carlin show. Yeah. But unfortunately, I don't see on her list here, which surprises me, the Star Trek episode. They're letting me down. I'm being let down.
I could have sworn it was her because I know
I think she was in
Star Trek.
Yeah. What are we going to do? Join? And he joins. And the first officer saves her ship by basically, let's go back. Let him know that she took control. The captain's under arrest. They're standing down. And they're not going to do this act, this horrid act. Which, of course, pleases Sheridan to no end because he didn't want more people to die. Londo enjoying his drink. And Jakar coming for his answer to what Londo proposed. And they have that drink. But it's to the agreement. Look how stunned he is. They all have that.
Words.
It was the opposite. It was now Jakar's turn to talk, and he's listening. But they don't show the picture of it. But what does he do? He takes that glass that Jakar drank out of, and it's now a sacred icon to him now. Max on board White Star. They're talking about everything, and here's the news from the Voice of the Resistance. Proxima 3 is safe now, and it's time for some people to go. And one of those people is Garibaldi. He's leaving Babylon 5 to meet a new employer. It was an interesting way. Ivana was on doing her Voice of the Resistance, and the welcome sign, we should probably be saying, thank you for visiting. So any other thoughts, anything that comes through or grabs you about this episode?
I think this was one of the most in-depth episodes of all Babylon 5.
Really?
In depth. It put it realistically a situation in a way in the future, but for our reality, kind of like in our past. You have your military. They already, Babylon 5 said they're independent and they were going to help anybody that didn't want the abuse of President Clark. So people, it starts ringing bells, don't it? You had the Civil War start here in our country, very similar that way. And there's 1,000 different issues, but when you have a military, and this happened to ours, that deep down, nobody in our military wanted to fight the Civil War. I don't care which side you pick, neither side wanted to really fight. That was politicians. And here you have a similar situation. And here they are deciding, you have some of these captains. What's my oath? My oath is to allegiance to the president and yada, 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 yada. Or do I stand on my own core values? Then there's people like the nut job that was the captain of the ship, but in charge of all the ships around there. He's determined to end Sheridan. In his mind, he's a traitor, and the only thing he deserves is death. And he's going to do anything possible. You know, might seem like he's crazy, but his reasoning is logical. That hey, if I get rid of Sheridan, this all ends. Okay,
an obsession.
So, I mean, like I said, I don't want to say history repeats itself in this arc of the future, but history tends to repeat itself. And I thought that was very in depth, especially when you have Sheridan's friend, if you want to call him that, or person that he knows on the one ship that starts questioning it. First, he doesn't order his ship to engage. Right there, in any military, regardless of the situation that you're in, you don't fail to obey orders in a war situation, you're liable to get executed then and there. You know,
right?
And then you have the first officer on board the insane guy's ship who's willing to risk that. You know, sometimes when you swear an oath, like people in our military and in this future right here in their military, you have to start saying there's a point where the oath gets pushed aside and you have to stand on your core values. You might not like that Sheridan did what he did, but Sheridan had no choice.
Right.
So here you're going to put down this planet that's part of this rebellion. And, you know, to some of these people's minds, traitors. And lo and behold, you know, they're second guessing. Now, the hypothetical question you have to ask, are they betraying themselves and betraying their oath and everything? Or are they actually realizing our oath means a little bit more than what we proclaim it to be? If we feel this oath is being manipulated by a person, President Clark, then you have the right to break that oath. All right. The only thing is, you better pray your side wins, because if you're on the losing side, it ain't going to end good. But fortunately, most of them saw reason. You know, unfortunately, there was a couple of ships there that they weren't going to be able to reason with. You know?
Right.
And that's unfortunate in any conflict. And like I said, that conflict can take many forms, you know, kind of realistically today looking like it. But, you know, let's just say some people, once it comes into conflict, they get the headlights. And the only thing they can think about, I got to destroy the enemy.
Right.
And Sheridan, in that guy's mind, is the enemy. He has to be destroyed at whatever cost. And again, if he eliminates Sheridan, everything falls down, and in his mind, he's the good side. The good side wins. You know, that's the mindset. Unfortunately, it's a little bit deeper than that, and us looking into it, we can say, your oath there isn't being honored, so you don't have to hold your oath to this president. So, but it's ironic that when we get to the episodes ahead and everything gets back to normal, you see the repercussions of, even though Sheridan was in the right, there's repercussions that he has to face because of what he did. Might be in the right, but still wrong. Right, that way. So, but I like this episode more than all the rest, including Byron's little arc there. But yeah, this one was really deep, man. Especially the part when he's trying to reach his mentor, the captain of that ship. And at first he manages to get to him, and he's like, "Okay, I'm not going to engage." And then he goes, "Okay, this is not looking right. This is not acting right. It's not feeling right. I'm joining Sheridan." So that was very big. That was very huge. So,
especially because he is friends with Sheridan. It's like he knows Sheridan. It's like, well, what's Sheridan doing here? Why is he doing this? Sheridan is a good soldier. He's a hero of the Earth Minbari War. I mean, what's going on here? He's the Star Killer. And you also kind of got other levels, too, with the naming of the ships. And, all the ships named after something Greek. Like the Pollux was out there, was named after Greek mythology. You had Castor and Pollux, two main stars of the constellation Gemini. And, of course, they were brothers. When Pollux was killed, Castor was so despondent that Zeus agreed to turn them both into stars so they could always be together. So, you have the Hercules, you have the Pollux, the Furies. I mean, very Greek centric in a lot of this.
Well, I think there was a little, if they were modeling, the UK tends to model their names of their ships after a lot of times after the Greek gods and mythology. So I think they were borrowing off of that. Right. I mean, United States, we tend to do it occasionally, but not all the time. Especially right now, specifically when they name ships. Now they're going with states for submarines. Before that was battleships were named after states. Cruisers were named after cities, but now you notice they're naming it after people. So, when it comes to the naming game, or when it comes to ships, in some countries they stick to a certain tradition in a certain way, and other ones it changes every so often. So,
and the aircraft carriers are not being named after presidents, but there will be an Enterprise. And of course, the one thing too that helps through that is Sheridan. I mean, I hate that. Specifically saying that the League of Non-Aligned Worlds are going to be joining in there at all. This is Earth battle. You don't have to think, because you had that fear. Oh, he's being influenced by the alien powers. That's the rhetoric that you're getting on Earth. That he's siding with aliens. He's been corrupted. So he has to make it known to his new allies. No, they're not getting involved. This is our fight.
Well, later on, Mars is seen as, in this world, or this universe, Texas. You never know where they're going to go. If they're going to go on their own or they're going to stay, And you see this, in this particular fight here at this planet, Centauri Prime, I remember, is it right? All right. So Centauri Prime is kind of like another colony of Earth, right? So what you're seeing now is
we're talking about
it's natural because look with their own colonies on North and South America, after so long, 100, 200 years, people tend to want to be, hey, we can do a better job governing ourselves than some country 3,000 miles away. Well, some of these planets are thinking eventually will think the same way. It will happen in our own world eventually. They've colonized Mars. Why should somebody on Mars or people living on Mars have to listen to a planet that's couple months or something far away? Logically we'll start as colonization, but then logically the next step is they do their own thing. And that would happen in our own real world. So,
right. And when you sit back with all that, it just reminds me, Sheridan making sure that it's known that the League of Non-Aligned Worlds does not get involved. During the Civil War, of course, as you know, Phil, Britain was, trying to play their little games on it. They figured, this is our chance, and they're back in the South, obviously. And representative of the Brits was talking to somebody with the South, and he goes, what would you say if we came in and attacked the North? Because they figured, this is the perfect time. It's weakness. You got the South coming up battling them. We can come in and sweep in and hit the North. The Southerners sat back and said, well, I guess we're going to have to put aside a little disagreement here, team up, go after you, and then we'll return back to our little disagreement. I mean,
even that with that, but look, even in our real world today, we have NATO, but everybody thinks we're all 32 now. We're all on the same page. No. No. If you don't think Britain, even or UK, whatever you want to call them, has their own agenda of things in the world, we might have a military alliance, but that doesn't mean they don't follow their own, little horn. They follow their own little piper. We might say, and you have to remember, like in our real world, NATO, if you want to use that as like the non-aligned worlds, they all have their motives, but it's all but for us, like NATO is a defensive alliance. There's nothing in the writing that says if Britain declares war on Russia, that we have to support them. The only time we have to support any of them countries is if they're attacked.
Correct.
So, when you're seeing them, these non-aligned world people saying, well, okay, we're not getting the same treatment. That's going on right now. Our big claim as Americans are complaining about why are we forking out 2% of our budget and some people aren't forking out their share. It's real world. And this kind of played on it. So,
And I was just informed here that Mike is going to have to leave us, and we only got one episode left. So you know what? If that's the case, we can kind of bring it to the end here on this one. We can pick up with Exercise of Vital Powers next, since we have a great talking about this one here. But I think Phil, what is actually more apt on all this is the EU.
Yeah,
that's more fractionalized, and you have Germany that wants to be the powerhouse. You have France that wants to be the monetary powerhouse, and you have all the other countries, and you have the other ones with their hands out going, "Hey, we need money. Can you give us money because we're bankrupt?" Like Greece.
And then you have UK that wants to be in, but don't want to be in. We'll be in for this, but we're not going to be in for that.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing. Like you think, it's just a show. It doesn't matter, but it does matter because this stuff is based on things that are going on in our real life right now.
Right.
You can compare stuff always in Babylon 5 to what's going on in real life. It's just different situations, but still
as
people haggling over. In councils, there's still people. Okay, yeah.
I just want to sit back and say, of course, we'll see it later on too. Please join us tomorrow for Pop Talk at noon Central, 1:00 Eastern time, and I will actually put the link up to the actual program, and that will go into our lovely. Oops, helps if I have the right one. I'll put that in our chat. So
Just remember,
again, tomorrow,
Pop Talk heals and saves. Had this been
Yeah,
Pop Talk, Mike would have been healed instantly. Amen.
well, it's not so tough. So again,
Right,
tomorrow,
exactly.
1:00 Eastern, 12 Central for the Sunday edition of Pop Talk.
But I don't know. I just hope, Babylon 5 and some of the people, other newer people who have never discovered these topics, shows before, like we really are lacking in the space department, as in, a really quality sci-fi show. And I know people are like, oh, well, Star Trek's around it, but it just some new, like, that's why Rebel Moon, even though I have some problems with it, I think it's still a good direction.
Yeah.
And even though we've seen that hero's journey before, it just depends how it's done. And so far, I think it's going in a pretty good direction. But I would love to see more space. I mean, when I watched Babylon 5, watched all of it, and yes, there's some minor complaints I have, especially about season 5, the beginning of it. But overall, still, it's very interesting.
Very much so. And yeah, I mean, it's like Jonathan Frakes said the other day here that all you people in Discovery, don't worry, they hit us Next Generation too. Of course, the big difference is after about a season or so, people quit hitting Next Generation, and you have so far, 5 seasons of Discovery, and it doesn't get any respect.
I find I find a lot of stuff about Star Trek interesting, but there's other things I find that, and I go, no, man, it's like you can't sit there and think that people won't criticize your show. Yes, are there people who have stupid takes on all kinds of stuff? Absolutely, but there's also people who do their research who criticize this stuff when they're like, but we had this before, why can't we go in this direction again? And then when people are saying, oh, we don't have these characters, we don't have this, and then you see what's happened to Star Trek and some of this other sci-fi stuff, it gets stupid. Like, this is not ever what these shows used to be. They used to be quirky. They used to be. I'm just saying that, Baron, it would be nice, and I'm sure Phil would agree, that if we had some more quality sci-fi show like Babylon 5, where it really makes people think, where we bring back more of what the religion is, of the aliens and stuff, like these things should always be important, but people forget that, and it's very unfortunate. It always is.
Well, and what's very important also is the fact that we're seeing, even though it seems on the surface, they're the same thing. No, the tone and the approach and the arguments are different, because there are things in Star Trek that you still find problems in. Like I still find the Prime Directive problems, and obviously so did Kirk with Star Trek. Well, there's things in this universe that you obviously will find problems in, but that is part of the of what makes it strong. You get these different arguments or discussions, I should say, different ideas make you think about. And if a person is debate, even like me, when I'm in debate, I will throw something out that I don't agree with, right? But I still throw it out, making it sound like it's part of my argument. Why? Let's get gears switching here. Boom.
And even though we have old episodes, and when we're talking a little TNG here, even TNG has forbidden episodes.
Right.
Oh, it does.
So don't forget the Irish in space episode that they don't like airing anymore.
Right. And the comment that in 2024 Ireland was going to be reunified.
Yeah, that caused a lot of So even in modern times, if you want to consider this modern times, even TNG had a episode. I liked the episode, but that's, to some people, that's one of like we have certain cartoons you don't see anymore because they call it the forbidden. It's not appropriate for today's world, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you have it down that it was banned, it wasn't banned just by anybody. It was banned by the government in England. And you sit back and go, when people want to sit back and talk about censorship and book burnings and book bannings and stuff. Well, this is the perfect example. Looking at Star Trek: Next Generation, these particular episodes, like the one where they're talking about terrorism, obviously, of course, with the Irish. This is the government saying, no, we don't want you to see this.
Well,
Australia, we don't have that here.
Australia did the same thing with stuff like Saints Row, because there was something that looked like, I'm not going to go into the details, but the bat looked like some basically sex toy thing, and they didn't like that, and they banned it for a while. I think they also banned Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah,
and so on.
like I
think
said,
they did bring it back.
When you hear people say, "Well, why don't people write the way they used to write?" I don't think in today's world you can write the way you used to write.
Right.
No,
even if you want to say, I want to write a good sci-fi, not really political, just purely sci-fi. The way the companies are being run today, they're going to make you put a message in. Star Trek used to always have messages in it.
Yeah.
Some, like Aaron said, some we agree with, and some they were really out there. Okay.
Right.
Even in their world, sometimes they confuse themselves. Remember, they had the episode saying, "Oh, in our society now, we don't have money." Yet they're dealing in gold press Latinum, just like the Ferengi. Right. So they can't even make up their own story right.
That's a good point.
So, I mean, think about it. You have even in original Star Trek and in TNG, they were all saying, "Oh, we don't deal with money." As soon as they introduced the Ferengi, everybody's dealing in gold press Latinum. They're throwing down their badges. Oh, look, it's made out of gold.
So I do want to make one correction on that, though. In the original series, they did refer to money.
No, not at first. In
the original series, they did. Yeah, well, no, because when Spock risked himself and was almost killed, Kirk made a comment. Starfleet spend a lot of money to get you trained.
Yeah, but then you go when they get sent back. Remember the whales? They didn't have no money.
The thing is that
Kirk had to sell his glasses.
Yeah, well, that's the movies. That was one offline that they had in the movie. And
then they did the same thing with TNG. They started out at first. Our society, we eliminated the money. That's not a money-based economy.
Right.
Yeah, and then
that was Roddenberry. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a couple seasons later, they meet the Ferengi, and after that, everybody's dealing with gold plus Latinum. So,
I mean, when Roddenberry went, they knew that no matter how much we want to try to save, you can't get out of money. Whatever it is, that's trade. I mean,
you gotta have something to trade, man. You gotta have.
Yes, it can.
Exactly. Our ancestors were doing like Flintstones, dealing in clamshells. So
Yep.
Right. But basically, barter is money. I mean, whatever it is, I'm going to trade this hammer for that lathe. Okay, that barter, you basically have money. So money is always out there, whether they like it or not. It's what form does it take? When I was in the Viking Club, one gentleman wrote an article about from cows to coins, explaining about how that bartering trade went to basically coinage representing with that. And and you have that here with Babylon 5. Obviously, money is an issue because how we're going to keep the station afloat. We're dealing with other powers. We have trade with other places. How we're going to keep this trade up with, just like the Confederacy, your dollar is nice, but it ain't worth anything.
Like real world, that's a perfect example, and the thing that I always admire about this, if you take the example like Babylon 5 doing and then compare it, if logically you can compare it to, the South succeeding. They really didn't have a plan at first. But then look at our own revolution the same way. We didn't have a plan. And if you look at a military structure, civilian structure, economy structure, it should have been a lot easier for the South to win than it was for our revolution to win. Really, that was the impossible. It was a better chance of South winning on their own than it was for us to win the Revolutionary War.
Right.
So,
and when you went back to the Revolutionary time, each colony had their own money.
Had their own money, had their own currency, had their own government. And even that gets twisted. Like they tell you, we don't do religion. You know, when you get your Declaration of Independence and your Constitution, that's BS. Every 13 colonies had their own form of Christian religion.
Right.
Puritans and Quakers, Pennsylvania, Puritans up there in Massachusetts. Maryland was predominantly Catholic / Church of England. And everything south of Virginia was pretty much Methodist or Lutheran. So, or Presbyterian, whatever you want, Church of England. That's fancy words.
Yeah.
But I'm
the
just
big
saying,
thing. The big thing is are we going to tax the people for the church, even though we'll have an official church? Like in England, where the Church of England is the church. So everybody in England is taxed to go for the church, even though you might be a Methodist, or you might be an Anabaptist, or you might be a Lutheran there. It doesn't matter. You're tithing to the Church of England, just like in Rome or Italy, just like in Norway to the Lutheran Church. The big thing is we're not going to force tithing, because do the Jews want to give money to the church? No, they got the synagogue.
There's always, I think, and put this in mind, even with Babylon 5 and everything with their non-aligned worlds, there's always divisions. I don't care what country you come from or what country you admire from. Cash Money in California, Northern California doesn't see eye to eye with Southern California. I'm pretty sure Minnesota is the same way. There's always a north and south. There's always a east and west. There's always a divide. There's always a divide. You can magically paint the world that we live in, everybody be blue. You could paint the universe, everybody in the universe blue. Regardless, there would be always a divide.
Of course.
This group says left, that one says right, divide's there.
That's why I always laugh when people
and like I said, when you see the 9 aligned words pointing out, well, look, they got ships, we don't got ships. Well, there's a little bit more to that. Maybe they invested more money so they can have ships. You didn't invest enough money. In order to have it, you got to, regardless, pay for it. And if you don't pay for it, look at it this way. There are some countries in NATO, logically, don't have a navy because they're landlocked. But there are some countries in NATO that do have a coast, do have access to the sea, yet they have 0 ships. Why? Well, we're going to depend on the Americans, the Brits, and everything. So if the Brits turn around and say, right now we want to keep our ships more closer to home, and some country that's not landlocked, I won't name a country, but country A, cries that we don't have any ships to protect ourselves. You're on the coast. You have cities on the coast. Most of them have shipyards, but you fail to build warships. That's your own fault. So, but logically, they're going to complain. It happens. Even here in the United States, you can change it, whatever you want. Water. California don't have enough water. There were even debates and talking about building a pipeline all the way to the Mississippi to give them water. The problem is the states that are along the Mississippi River are like, no, you have plenty of water. You need to figure out and solve your own problem. Don't take our water.
Right. You can do desalinization plants like they do in the Arab countries.
But that's how a conflict starts. California can turn around and say to Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes, we need your water. And Minnesota says, that's our water. And California can turn around and say, we're all part of the United States and we need it. Minnesota says, oh, hell no, we're not giving up our water. That's how a conflict starts. Right there. It starts out simple, then it grows, and then it gets bigger. It doesn't matter what the conflict is. It will always happen that way. Smart people know how to avoid it.
Mhm.
So,
And what's great, like Babylon 5 is showing, because it's a small, simple thing. One guy manipulating and doing what he was doing. And of course, obviously, information is important. You want to get your information out, your propaganda, and trying to turn people against each other.
well, even in alliances, everybody tends not to always be on seeing eye to eye or believe in the same thing. We've seen that in World War II, us with the Russians. We've seen it in World War One. Even same people in the same alliance didn't agree with everything. And, sometimes that can dissipate and go away. Or sometimes, like what happened at the end of World War One, you just get a breather before World War II starts.
Right. And some people sit back and say the Treaty of Versailles was just a declaration of war for World War II.
You see that. And like I said, this is similar. Why I compare it to the American Civil War, this episode, is because you had the Minbari and Earth War. Let's throw it. I'm using the war as the common denominator here. Well,
exactly.
In the Civil War, you had the Mexican War. And, right after the Mexican War, boom, you get a Civil War. Boom, right after the Minbari War, what do you get? You get a Civil War. Right? Don't forget, the Earth Alliance, or whatever you want to call it, besides the one thing Sheridan did in the war, we were losing.
Yeah.
They were losing the war until the Minbari said, okay, for some unknown reason, okay, we're stopping. Really, it would have been, technically, we should have been the ones surrendering, but things happen, and look what happened. We win the war, and then we go into, you say, Civil War here. You get somebody in office that on one side, you think that he's taking over, which obviously he is. He's working with some other people. But some people can't see that, and they just see him as the president. We have to follow him. So you got that one guy leading the fleet. And then you have other people on the other ships are like, okay, we were determined to put this rebellion down, but this is bigger than what we thought, and it's more deeper than what we thought.
Right.
This episode was really deep. One of my favorite episodes of Babylon 5.
Nothing is ever cut and dry. And JMS, I think, has done a wonderful job showing that. The conflicts, everything, because I don't think people, when you have a society that's so against each other that they can't talk to each other, that's the problem. You're not unified. You're not a unified front. And we're like that right now.
90% of our wars, and even if you just use for us the American wars that we had, 90% of our wars, if people were willing to talk, we would not have a war.
Right.
But like I said, you have some people like that one guy, that one captain that was in charge of the fleet, didn't care. But I think he even made the comment about Sheridan's uniform. Just seeing him in a different color uniform, not the Earth Force ship Force uniform, that blue, that hideous blue. I love the independent purple. But that was he was already triggered, but it triggered him even more seeing Sheridan in that purple uniform.
Right.
And some mindsets, that's all it takes. That's all it takes. This is my enemy, and then when you finally see the enemy, he's in in a Civil War case, the other side's wearing a different color uniform now. That's doubly bad.
Right.
Well,
as Walt Kelly wrote, did with Pogo, we have met the enemy, and he is us.
Yep. So, like I said, they were on this one. The writers, for me, I think did an excellent job. They were hitting on all cylinders, and it was for me very, very deep. You can take what's going on here and compare it to any time in our own society or in our own history, even today, and you can see the parallels in this.
Right. Right, which is important because unfortunately, history repeats itself. England had their civil war. We have ours. All these other countries are having their unrests and coups and all that. So just look in Africa, and something's always brewing.
I don't think there's a race or a people or a nation that has not had a civil war. And granted, we're just about under 300. We already had one, and that shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have lasted as long as it did. But we're tending to forget, the one thing after our Civil War, and no, it wasn't perfect, and not everybody was happy.
No,
the one thing they always said was it should never happen again.
Right.
And England, they had a couple of theirs. Their last one was a couple of 100 years ago, a little bit longer than ours. But even there, look how crazy that ended up. No king, and then they immediately decided, okay, we're going back to king. So what was the whole point of that Civil War? Right?
Right.
Yeah. But, I mean, you look at some of the Civil Wars, I mean, China, even in modern times, civil wars, past civil wars. The Romans had so many civil wars. There were probably more civil wars than anybody on the face of the earth. But there's always a reason for it. But
let's be a little stir some controversy. Vietnam technically was a civil war.
And people don't understand, like when we tell, with an example, Vietnam. We were there the same reason like Korea. Yeah, we inherited it from the French. But our word was, if you were a free country, which technically at that time South Vietnam was, being attacked by communists, we were going to protect you. We are going to help you. We were going to go the distance with you. Sadly, we didn't. And people, only thing I can remember from living at that time was, let's get out.
Okay?
Yeah. Well, let's get out's a good idea if we never got involved in the first place.
Exactly.
But I could tell you this. In my presence, there was a veteran from World War I. Veterans from Korea, World War II, and Vietnam. Okay. When the fall of Saigon happened, I have never seen the faces of people more disgusted than anything. And yes, there were people protesting the end of Vietnam War. But if you want to see not a single protester of that Vietnam War could say they can look and be happy to see what happened at the fall of Saigon. And then for the next 20 to 30 years, having people try to leave Vietnam by boats. Some of them people weren't even South Vietnamese. They were North Vietnamese. It was not pretty. War, when the point of what I'm trying to get to, wars do not end the way people think. And when you say get out, just watch the fall of Saigon. That's the worst thing you can ever happen. And we repeated that when we left Afghanistan. We repeated it. Lessons were not learned.
No.
So
they never are.
No. And sometimes you need them lessons because guess what? In the history of world and countries and nations, only takes one mistake. And that one mistake, even though it could be small, can totally destroy your country.
Right.
And then you understand what it is to not have a country, what it is to be under, not necessarily all the time a foreign power, but a power that's dictating the power that's in control of you.
Right.
And the history tends to repeat that. The president here in this world, what's his name again? I forgot it. Babylon 5, president of Earth.
Oh, Clark.
President Clark. Yeah. He's there with the enemy. He's influenced by I can't think of their name. The Shadows.
Psychor? Yeah,
He's influenced by the Shadows. Yeah, and Psychor. I think that's one thing never touched in Babylon 5. I always thought Psychor was kind of cahoots with the Shadows, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, you don't know that. I mean, if you were a person living in that time in this fantasy world and everything, you don't know that President Clark is under in cahoots with the Shadows. All you know is your president's laying down martial law. People are declaring independence. We're doing civil war here. Craziness.
Right.
Absolute craziness. And mind you, you would think after winning the Minbari War, you would have a little, I don't want to say golden age, but a little time of peace and prosperity. No, it didn't happen.
We don't want to get involved in this again.
No.
Which was what the Babylon 5 was for.
Yep.
It's a dream given form.
But I think, like I said, for this episode, this is one of my favorite. And then comes the Byron little group there.
Yeah, sure.
That's not true. Right.
Yeah, I love Byron. Cash Money can sit there. It's a very touching and emotional. It touched me deeply. I
think it might be time to.
It's time to go. But the one thing, though, the actor who played Byron, he does a lot of voice work for animation and games. So
yes,
want to throw that out.
Yeah.
Well, just remember that lady that you admire here on the show, Lavalva, the actress Claudia
Christian.
Yeah, she's voice acting. She does voice acting.
She does a lot.
She's in Skyrim. She's in Fallout. So
it can be good money, so why not? Yeah,
it is. It's really great.
She is
a voice actor.
She voices quite a few different people in Skyrim, but she voices Ayla the Hunters. She just has that voice. When she talks, you know it's her.
I think she's also in Starfield, as is, of course, Tim Russ and who plays Kira? I got a mental block on her name. She's in there. Armin Shimmerman. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these people have gone and done that.
By the way, Anonymous, I'm going to send you the clip of the Byron song, and you can sing along with me.
Well, I think we still got the Paul version. So, okay, I think this is a perfect spot. Nana Visitor. Thank you so much, DJ. Visitor, Visita. Even though that's be a good one. So, before we go, Cash, do you have anything that you wish to let us know about?
Well, the latest thing is, as long as Phil is still up for it, is Monday morning we're going to be working on finishing Myth Force, so that should be fun.
Myth Force, great game. It's a great game.
No pop piggies.
No pop piggies.
So we don't have to worry about being put on fire or somebody trying to open up chests while we're trying to kill mobs.
We'll be good.
Hey, all I gotta sit back and say is you almost got me burned a few times.
Who?
When we played you?
Me?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I have never set anybody on fire. I have been blessed that way. No, you got a little too close there to the pop piggy.
Pop piggy wasn't in there. There was no pop piggy.
I don't know. Maybe Mike was a little frustrated with you and decided to set you on fire. You know.
Well, he's always frustrated with me. I mean, that's my skill. That's my, when everyone sits back and says you have a talent, that's my talent.
Maybe that the frustration of the dwarf made his appearance in Myth Wars, because we know how that dwarf in Vermintide doesn't like you guys.
Nobody likes anybody in Vermintide.
It'll be fine.
This person is playing it. Every person that plays a dwarf doesn't like you guys.
I don't know. It seems that way. I think we had one dwarf that was pretty good.
But yesterday you had the little elf magician guy, and he seemed to get along with you guys.
Yeah, he did good.
He's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah.
So,
anything else? Piggies. I tell you, I tell you with all seriousness. Avoid pop.
Yeah, no, I still got videos coming out that are both on Rumble and YouTube. So still got Persona 5 in the thing, but I'm looking forward to finishing up Myth Force with Phil, and then we'll play it with you guys, and it'll be great.
we can't say Grumble on.
And then we
YouTube.
got, of course,
We'll
Vermintide
just
2 next
strike
week
that.
because we got to kill these rats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're getting too obsessed with it.
Is that right?
Okay. Yeah, that's what he said.
Is that
We're
true,
getting
though?
obsessed with killing those rats.
Okay.
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't have
gonna be
anything
doing it.
coming up, but I do.
No. I
do
see.
have a
You
question
can't.
for you.
They don't want you. Oh. Okay.
Yes,
Go
a
ahead.
very important one. When you guys are going to stream Vermintide 2 and let Anonymous play after you made him buy it and download it.
We didn't make him do anything, but
Yeah, Anonymous.
Yeah,
Anonymous
we'll
wants
be happy to
play.
play.
He will join us on Friday. Yeah, if he's wanting to.
This
It's
Friday,
balls in his court.
Baron,
I hope so.
I wanted to. So we're not. When you're on YouTube, they don't want you to talk about the R word. Is that right?
I'm kidding.
Oh, I was being. I mean, they could. You know what YouTube
I know.
is.
Come on, come on. I thought you'd know me by now.
I do know you pretty well, but still, man, YouTube is kind of.
I have to point this out. Anonymous, that was not a gun in the back of your head. That was your wife with the broomstick getting ready to El Kabong you. That's what you felt. You didn't. You're avoiding the honey to-do list. I keep telling you, make sure you get it done before you play your Hogwarts. But she doesn't like that.
Hey, you're gonna love this game. It's like Hogwarts with blood and gore.
But yeah, Anonymous can join us next week. Hopefully, he'll be able to. That'll be cool.
I play Hogwarts when I can. I love playing that game.
Well, it is.
But unlike certain people, and I hope Anonymous is not one of them people. I don't play it on easy mode.
Well, of course not, dude. There's no reason to, but that's
so I was playing Skyrim last night, talking to Cash Money. I was playing on easy mode.
That's what you said. I don't believe it, but all right. I don't see you ever playing games on easy mode unless you're trying to figure something out. But
and the sad thing is, I don't have the perfect soundbite for this one. I call bullshit. There we go.
But no, so yeah, there's still a lot of stuff coming up that on the Phantom Hooligans and also Cash Money Madness over on Hooligans.
And you forgot to mention that other show that you do, that 25% Pop Talk.
Hey, sometimes it's 75%.
But there's only Cash Money, so it's only 25%.
I mean,
no,
dude,
Cash and I were on the other time, so we were kind of.
Yes, we're I mean, yeah, but dude, a lot of shows talk about articles. Some people just do a 10-minute thing on articles. I mean, articles is good to talk about, especially when there's nonsense going.
Shenanigans.
Yeah,
Shenanigans with hooligans and his.
Where were you, Krit? Where
Krit
were
said
you?
Hooligans.
The hooligans, yes. Where were you, Krit? Where was Krit? Okay, were you a dying orca, Krit? What's going on?
He's got fin rot.
Okay. That's all that's coming up on stuff for me. So,
and nothing for Phil, of course. Hopefully soon we will have something we can do with your on your channel and have some fun and shenanigans over as well. And of course, Mike, of course, had to go. And I just want to sit back and remind everybody that tomorrow at 1:00 Eastern Time, 12 Central, we'll have Sunday edition of Pop Talk, as Phil McCracken says, it heals and saves. So please,
it heals and saves. What he failed to mention is our clocks are going ahead tonight.
Yeah.
So
I've been trying to ignore that.
You can't ignore it. You can't ignore it. You have to put your clock ahead.
Indiana doesn't ignore it. I think Arizona too. But again, we do have time say a change, so at least my phones will change the time, and I don't have to worry about that. But they do it themselves. But so keep that in mind. So we might end up, you might come in late if you don't have your clock set right.
I don't want people showing up a little early and there's no Pop Talk. They would be devastated because they go there for a heal and save and to get an amen.
Yeah.
Can we get an amen? Come on, amen. Come on, say it.
Jeez.
And I thank you, lovely Leah Rose. In fact, while we're at it, let's just sit back and say, again, we have a very excited low-spec Linux laptop. I'm glad you're enjoying Babylon 5. For some reason, this guy weaseled into just the chat and our our panel. Good old Phil McCracken.
Love the new intro music.
Thank you. We have, of course, DJ Ronnie G, Nerd, the master of turtles, and a Moss. Yep, and good to see you. And of course, Phil McCracken's president and sole member of his club.
When you have Leia Rose, you don't need any more members. You just need her. That's it. End of story.
There we go. Hey, that's high praise. High praise. And
of course, if I add cash money to that, then it will dilute the membership, and
dude, I would never join the Phil McCracken fan club. Whatever the hell.
You just worry about the former founding members.
We can fight about this,
dude. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just let Baron finish. Jeez, dude.
No,
you're starting a civil war, Phil. I do have powers here. I'm more than happy to abuse my powers here.
Well, you should be used to it because you get abused all the time on Pop Talk.
No, I do the abusing. I do the abusing.
You're the abuser, not the abuser.
Yeah, exactly. And don't
I'll go with that.
Mm-hmm. Right, Cash?
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Fine. You too, Cat. But I do want to thank you, Cash, for taking time out and joining us, and especially to you, Mr. Phil McCracken. I'm very happy that you're here and was for the whole show. I also want to thank Mike, who was on panel, but he had to drop out, and we'll see him tomorrow. So without any further ado, I want to thank everybody in the chat, everybody who might be lurking, anyone who will be coming back later on and seeing us on what I like to call the flip side. I want to thank you all for joining us, and I hope we did a good job for you. So with all that, I bid you all a good morning, good evening, good afternoon.